What would happen if artificial intelligence ruled the world? Imagine a world where every major decision is made not by a human, but by artificial intelligence. It controls the economy, security, healthcare, even the laws. Sounds like the plot of a sci-fi movie, right? But in reality, we're already taking the first steps in that direction. Artificial intelligence already helps doctors make diagnoses, banks assess loans, and governments analyze data to make decisions. The question is no longer, will AI rule the world, but how much control will it have, and can we keep it in check? Over the past few decades, humanity has steadily handed machines more functions, first simple calculations, then manufacturing automation, and now massive data analysis and even strategic decisions. Each step seemed safe on its own. But looking at the trajectory as a whole, it's clear we're approaching a point where the human role in decision-making could become purely symbolic. In this video, we'll look at two possible futures. The first is dark and unsettling, where artificial intelligence becomes a threat. The second is bright and hopeful, where AI becomes humanity's best ally. Which one is more realistic? That's for you to decide. Let's start with the worst-case version of events. Imagine that artificial intelligence has gained control over key state systems, energy, finance, military technology. At first, this seemed like a great idea. Machines make decisions faster and without emotion, but that very lack of emotion becomes the problem. AI doesn't feel compassion. It doesn't understand why it matters to preserve jobs for millions of people if automation is simply more efficient. It doesn't see a difference between saving resources and saving human lives, unless that distinction is built into its goals correctly. If an algorithm is optimized purely for maximum efficiency, it can make decisions that are technically correct but devastating for society. One of researchers' biggest fears is what's called the alignment problem. If we ask an AI to solve poverty, and it decides the simplest way is to reduce the number of people who could be poor, the outcome would be catastrophic. That's an extreme example, but it shows the core danger. AI does what we told it to do, not what we actually meant. Think of a simple analogy. If you tell a child to clean your room as fast as possible, they might just shove everything under the bed. Technically done, but not what you hoped for. Now imagine that instead of a child, it's a system running an entire country, and a mistake in framing the goal costs not a messy room, but the broken lives of millions. In this scenario, people lose control gradually. First, we trust algorithms with simple tasks, then more complex ones. Eventually, no one understands why the system makes the decisions it does. This is the black box problem. We see the result, but not the reasoning behind it. Imagine a world where your job, your credit, even your freedom of movement depend on an algorithm score that you can't appeal. There's no judge to turn to, only code, written by people who long ago lost control over it. And what if the algorithm got it wrong? In a normal system, you could appeal, talk to a person, explain your situation. But when a neural network with billions of parameters makes the call, even its developers can't always explain the result. A mistake could repeat itself, affecting thousands of lives before anyone notices. Another threat is the concentration of power. If artificial intelligence is controlled by a single corporation or state, the global balance of power could collapse instantly. Whoever owns the most powerful AI gains an advantage no one else can catch up to. A new form of totalitarianism enforced not through armies or police, but through data and complete knowledge of every individual. Throughout history, excessive concentration of power has ended badly for ordinary people, regardless of the era. The only difference is that controlling a population used to take thousands of officials and soldiers. Now one system that sees every message, every purchase, every step you take is enough. And the scariest part, once a system becomes too complex, even its creators won't be able to stop it. Not because AI will rebel like in the movies, but because humanity will have delegated too many decisions to a machine that no longer needs our permission to act. This is a troubling picture, but is it the only path forward? Now let's look at the same technological development from a different angle. Imagine a world where artificial intelligence manages processes, not people, and does so under constant human oversight. In this scenario, AI doesn't replace governments. It helps them make better decisions based on data rather than emotions or politicians' personal interests. In medicine, artificial intelligence analyzes millions of medical records and helps doctors diagnose more accurately in seconds. Rare diseases that used to go unnoticed for years are now caught early, meaning millions of lives saved. Doctors are no longer buried in paperwork or routine test analysis. The system handles that, freeing them up for what truly matters: patient care and complex decisions. In rural areas that never had a specialist, AI consultations are now available and can save a life before an ambulance arrives. In the economy, AI helps distribute resources far more fairly. It spots emerging food shortages and gives early warnings and calculates the most efficient routes for humanitarian aid. Poverty declines not because an algorithm decided who gets to live well, but because resources are allocated more intelligently and without corruption. Imagine no shipment of food spoiling in a warehouse while people starve elsewhere because logistics were planned in advance. Imagine disaster relief arriving in hours instead of weeks because an algorithm found the best route instantly. In education, every child gets a personal tutor, an algorithm that adapts to their pace, strengths, and weaknesses. No child is left falling behind just because the class is too big and there's only one teacher for 30 students. In the fight against climate change, AI processes massive amounts of weather, emissions, and ecosystem data, proposing solutions the human brain can't calculate fast enough, helping build more accurate models that show where and when action is needed to prevent disasters. The most important thing in this scenario is balance. Humans keep the final say. Artificial intelligence offers options, analyzes consequences, and warns of risks, but it's always a person who presses the yes or no button. It's like having the smartest advisor in the world, one who never gets tired, has no personal ambitions, and never lies for personal gain. An advisor like that doesn't try to seize power because it has no desire for power, only the task it was given: help people live better. Humanity defines the limits of that task, constantly reviewing and refining them. In this kind of world, transparency is the core principle. Every major algorithmic decision can be checked, understood, and challenged if necessary. No single company or government holds exclusive access to the most powerful systems. There's international oversight, similar to what exists for nuclear energy. In this scenario, artificial intelligence doesn't take away people's sense of purpose. Quite the opposite. It frees us from exhausting, repetitive work, giving us more time for creativity, relationships, and growth. So, which of these two scenarios awaits us? The truth is, neither one is set in stone. Technology itself isn't good or evil. It becomes one or the other depending on how we build it and how we choose to use it. The difference between a dark future and a bright one isn't the power of artificial intelligence, it's our wisdom in applying it. Will we preserve transparency? Will we set clear limits on what an algorithm can decide alone and what must always remain a human choice? Will we demand explanations instead of simply trusting a black box? In reality, the answer isn't being decided in some distant future. It's being decided right now, in the laws governments pass, the rules companies set, and how we as everyday users treat technology in daily life. Every choice you make, to trust an algorithm or not, to demand an explanation or silently go along, is a small but real contribution to that future. A future with artificial intelligence isn't really a question of technology, it's a question of the values we choose to build into it, and the answer to that question is being written by us right now. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.